Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks for starting your day with us. We're going to begin this morning with the latest news, of course, out of the Middle East amid the ongoing war with Iran. Overnight, Iran intensified its strikes on energy sites in neighboring Gulf states, including a key facility in Qatar in retaliation for an Israeli attack on a major gas field in Iran, which is the world's largest. This morning, the price of crude oil soared past $116, rising almost 10% in a day as anxiety builds over the world's oil supply following those overnight attacks. On Wednesday, Iran's president confirmed the death of the country's intelligence minister, calling his killing the latest in Israel's, quote, cowardly assassinations of high-ranking Iranian leaders. This is after Iran's top national security official and the head of its all-volunteer Basij force were both killed in Israeli airstrikes earlier this week.
President Trump attended a dignified transfer at Dover Air Force Base yesterday. He paid his respects to the 6 U.S. service members who died in a refueling aircraft crash in Iraq last week. The transfer was closed to press coverage. In all, 13 U.S. service members have been killed since the war with Iran began. 2 others died of non-combat causes. The strikes continue across the Middle East. Yesterday, the U.S. unleashed bunker buster bombs targeting Iran's anti-ship cruise missile launchers along the Strait of Hormuz. And in Washington, senators voted to reject a war powers resolution. It would have directed the president to remove U.S. forces from the war without an official declaration of war. We have a team in place this morning to help us break it all down, including the impact of the latest strikes across the Middle East and the war's ongoing political and economic fallout. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons joins us now from Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, with more. Keir, I know you had a chance to attend Saudi Arabia's meeting of foreign ministers from Arab and Islamic countries this morning. What is the message coming out of that meeting?
Well, it was a stunning time to attend that meeting, honestly, Joe, because we flew in here to Riyadh yesterday, and just flying in, our plane was delayed by 90 minutes as it circled, it held, while Riyadh airport was closed for a while. They managed to reopen it, and then once we were here, the sound of booms over this capital city as the Saudis say they intercepted every missile that was fired. But the crucial point here is that those missiles were being fired even while the Saudi foreign minister had gathered together other foreign ministers from the region. I watched the Turkish foreign minister walk through the hotel lobby as we were getting those missile alerts and hearing those booms. And that was something that really stunned the Saudi foreign minister and the Saudi foreign ministry here. Take a listen. I asked him about it.
Keir Simmons from NBC News. Have you ever experienced in your diplomatic life an evening where you have organised a meeting of senior representatives of countries and a neighbouring country fires upon the city where that meeting is taking place? And to the point, the question you were asked, just to ask again honestly, can Saudi Arabia now ever envisage an Iran that is able to threaten it with missiles and drones and is able to determine the oil price by effectively closing the Strait of Hormuz?
I've not had a long enough diplomatic career to have experienced such a blatant attempt at blackmail as firing missiles while the diplomatic gathering is taking place. And that's what it was. To me, it was clear that the attack today was timed to coincide with this meeting in order to attempt, I don't know, to intimidate those present, to send home the message that Iran will not stop. All I can say is we were not intimidated. We were not in any way convinced that Iran can be a legitimate partner when it behaves this way. So the reality is any re-engagement with Iran, this conflict, will end at some point.
Now, there are some of America's partners and allies in this region, notably Oman, Joe, arguing that they should try to help the United States extricate itself from this conflict. But that's not the prevailing mood. As you heard there, the prevailing mood really amongst these Gulf countries is that we are close to a point of no return where it's impossible to regain trust with the Iranian regime, certainly, and that ultimately the only real satisfactory outcome from all of this is that Iran is not able to target these countries again. How you get there is a different question.
Keir, if we could talk about oil exports from the region, which is just really becoming the centerpiece of this war. President Trump took this step yesterday, kind of surprising, calling on Israel to stop attacking a major gas field in Iran. It's actually the world's largest, as we mentioned, but said if Iran attacks our ally, Qatar, again, he vowed to, quote, massively blow up the entirety of that natural gas field. Walk us through what we're seeing back and forth here and just how critical a piece oil is of this war at this point.
Well, it's all about oil, as we know, but now it's really also very much about gas. That's the South Pars gas field in Iran. It's just a moment to pause and just point out how interconnected these countries are. That gas field is actually shared with Qatar. It was struck by Israel. And that is why Iran says it is retaliating with these strikes overnight on the Ras Laffan gas facility in Qatar. And that is what has caused the gas price to surge overnight. And those strikes have continued. And as you say, President Trump now posting overnight, there will be no more attacks by Israel on Iran's gas capability. But then, at the same time, threatening that if Iran doesn't stop attacking the Gulf region's energy infrastructure, that he will attack Iran's gas fields. So that this is, again, a moment of profound danger of escalation.
Keir Simmons reporting from Saudi Arabia. Keir, thank you so much.
Well, as the war with Iran continues in its third week, the Trump administration is facing stiff pushback over the president's rationale for starting the conflict. On Capitol Hill yesterday, National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard deflected questions from lawmakers about whether U.S. intelligence backed up President Trump's rationale for starting the war.
Gabbard has been mostly silent since the conflict began, but pressed during the hearing, she declined to say if Iran's nuclear program posed an imminent threat, something President Trump has repeatedly claimed.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
False. This is the worldwide threats hearing where you present to Congress national intelligence, timely, objective, and independent of political considerations.
It is not the intelligence community's responsibility to determine what is and is not an imminent threat.
It is precisely your responsibility to determine what constitutes a threat to the United States.
Once again, Senator, the intelligence community has provided the inputs that make up this annual threat assessment.
You won't answer the question.
It is the nature of the imminent threat that the president has to make that determination based on a collection and volume of information and intelligence that he is provided with.
You're evading a question because to provide a candid response to the committee would contradict a statement from the White House.
NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumback joins us from Washington with more on this. Gary, good morning. So it was a lot of back and forth on that particular question, the imminent threat question. Same kind of thing when asked about the Strait of Hormuz, her as well as the leaders of the intelligence community being asked repeatedly, did the president know that this could happen with the Strait of Hormuz? And a lot of deflecting. Walk us through more of her testimony and what her comments may tell us about her current standing also in the administration.
Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard finding herself in a position where she's trying to defend what the Trump administration is doing while also defending what her intelligence agencies are saying, while also trying to keep her own job. Tulsi Gabbard not including a portion in her spoken remarks that she did include in her written remarks related to whether or not Iran has done anything to continue to enrich uranium since Operation Midnight Hammer last June. When asked why she didn't include that in her spoken statement, she said she was just trying to save time. But anybody who has been following Tulsi Gabbard for several years now knows she's decidedly anti-war. She ran her entire 2020 presidential campaign on the idea idea of no more wars. And she joined the Trump administration in part because of the Trump administration's campaign promise for no more wars. Guys.
Gary, this testimony came just one day after Joe Kent, who is a longtime Trump ally, announced his resignation as director of the National Counterterrorism Center. His opinion of just how imminent the threat from Iran was quite different from the president. Here's some of what he had to say on the Tucker Carlson show yesterday.
Was Iran on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon?
No, they weren't, 3 weeks ago when this started, and they weren't in June either. I mean,
now, by June, he's referring to the U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites last summer. Source telling NBC News that Kent is now under investigation by the FBI. What all can you tell us?
Yeah, Joe Kent, now the subject of an FBI leak investigation, accused of leaking potentially classified information during his time as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. The FBI has declined to comment here, but Trump allies have been trashing Joe Kent online ever since he released that really big statement about 24 hours ago. FBI did decline to comment, but the cracking down on leaks to journalists is something the Trump administration has been big on for several years now.
Gary, overnight, the Senate narrowly rejected this vote on war powers resolution that would have directed President Trump to remove U.S. forces from hostilities with Iran. Just walk us through what this means for the conflict and the president's authority here.
Yeah, this was largely expected. Only 47 senators voted yes. John Fetterman, the only Democrat to vote no. Rand Paul, the only Republican to vote yes. What this means, essentially, is nothing changes. The president is still going to war with Iran without congressional authorization. And at this point, there's not a whole lot Congress can do. And this is especially relevant because, as NBC News has reported, the Trump administration is considering and is thinking about boots on the ground in Iran.
Gary Grumbach, thank you.
The war with Iran cast a big shadow over yesterday's Federal Reserve meeting. The central bank, as expected, left interest rates unchanged, but Fed Chair Jerome Powell faced several questions about how the conflict could impact the economy moving forward.
Yeah, Powell warned inflation was expected to tick higher, but said it was too soon to tell what the longer-term effects of the war would be. Take a listen to some of what he said during yesterday's news conference.
The implications of events in the Middle East for the U.S. economy are uncertain. In the near term, higher energy prices will push up overall inflation, but it is too soon to know the scope and duration of the potential effects on the economy. The thing I really want to emphasize is that nobody knows. The economics effect could be bigger, they could be smaller, they could be much smaller or much bigger. We just don't know.
Caleb Silver joins us now. He's Investopedia's editor-in-chief and the chief business editor of People, Inc. So we expected the interest rates to remain unchanged. Explain why that is. And looking ahead, do we think we will see any cuts at all later this year?
Yeah, that's what everybody wants to know, but nobody knows. If you heard Chair Powell's press conference, I listened. He said, I don't know, we don't know, it's uncertain, it's hard to know. He must have said that 12 times because they just don't know, because they don't know how long this conflict is going to last and what that's going to mean for crude oil prices. We saw Brent crude now topping $120 a barrel this morning. That's really tough for Europe, which uses a lot of Brent crude. But the fact that prices could remain high for an undetermined amount of time could definitely push prices up, and that's why they held pat. It looked like they may have one maybe small cut before the end of the year, but now if you're looking at rising prices over the next few months, the Fed might have to consider raising interest rates to cool things down.
Okay, so uncertainty, you said it, the big word yesterday, but what did we hear from him? Any comments, any hints on just how he sees the economy being impacted by what we're seeing in Iran?
Yeah, he sees higher prices, and we already saw that through the producer price index. That's what producers and manufacturers pay for raw materials, but also consumer prices. All of this was before the attack on Iran. So prices were rising already, and now you're going to deal with the impacts of rising crude oil prices that affect every part of the supply chain and lift prices in general. So he knows higher prices are coming. He just doesn't know the duration. It was an 11-1 vote to keep interest rates right where they are, but he did emphasize the fact that most Fed presidents and governors see the economy growing at relatively a barbecue pace, 4.4%, 2.3%. The labor market slowing, but the key thing to watch here is rising prices due to oil.
And in the last 24 hours, we've seen an uptick in strikes on energy facilities in the Middle East, suggesting this could get worse. I mean, it begs the question, how bad could this get when it comes to oil and gas prices?
Yeah, well, so look at the framework. $80 to $100 a barrel is sort of manageable for the economy. Yes, it means higher gas prices. You get to $100 to $120 a barrel on a sustained period of time, you're talking about a serious slowdown in growth. Not recession, but then you get to 120 to 140. If that lasts for a couple months, we're talking about at least stagflation, which is slowing growth and rising prices, but potentially a recession. Stock market hasn't really reacted to this yet like we thought it might. It's only down about 3%, but it could.
Tell us, though, more about what we are seeing just in terms of market volatility and this bit of a sell-off we saw yesterday.
A lot of us have been waiting for this stock market to fall 5, 10, 15% because of this energy shock, but it hasn't here in the U.S. If you start to look overseas, though, in Europe, which relies heavily on Brent crude oil, and a lot of the impacts of natural gas are hurting that economy, those stock markets in Europe and in Asia, they're down significantly, 5 to 6%. The U.S., we're down about 3 to 4%. The Dow's at its low for the year. A lot of us thought it would be worse. At this point in time, it could get worse, and I expect more volatility in the future.
Caleb Silver, thank you so much.
Well, it's not even spring yet, and the West Coast is already dealing with a sweltering heat wave. It's really making it feel like the dog days of summer. Millions of people are under heat alerts this week, with some places posting record high temperatures. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz shows us how the West is bracing for this historic heat long before the scorching summer months.
Across the West, a scorching March heat wave making winter feel more like the height of summer. From California to New Mexico, 38 million people under heat alerts. Cities like Tucson and Phoenix bracing for triple-digit temps. Neither have ever before seen a 100-degree day in winter.
Those are June. Those are July temperatures.
The Phoenix Fire Department says already this week they've had to make at least 2 heat-related rescues on their hiking trails, which the city is now closing during the day through Sunday. Multiple spring training games in the area are also moving to evening hours.
Take breaks every 45 minutes. Get in a cooler environment and cool yourself down.
In L.A., the blazing sun beating down on these construction workers in Altadena.
If it comes about 1 or 2 o'clock, we are dying out here. I mean, it is hot. We rolled up yesterday at 2:30 because it was so hot. We drank 4 Gatorades each, 4 water. It was like you can't get enough fluids.
Some ski resorts now forced to close for the season early. These images from Vail, Colorado show parts of the slopes so melted you can see the grass. And in Nebraska, the warm, dry, and windy conditions continue to fuel those massive wildfires that have now turned deadly, claiming the life of 86-year-old Rose White, a grandmother who died trying to escape. Liz Kreutz, NBC News.
Well, after traveling to the frozen north, Angie Lastman has returned to our studio now fully thawed. We put her in an incubator overnight. She joins us now with more on the historic heat and other forecasts.
I tell you what, guys, my heat was cranked all the way up when I got home. Unfortunately, we are not done with the cold just yet. We're still dealing with these kind of frost advisories across parts of the southeast and just temperatures sitting below normal in some spots. So let's start with the southeast. 14 million people, less than what we were dealing with yesterday, but still extending from South Carolina all the way to Alabama. Atlanta and Augusta included in there, Myrtle Beach as well, with temperatures kind of flirting with freezing this morning in some of these spots. Columbia, one of those locations, Wilmington as well, upper 30s from Mobile to Tallahassee, and 40 degrees this morning in Atlanta. Not quite as bad across the east as it was yesterday. We're still running maybe 4 to 6 degrees below normal, but it's not quite as impressive as what we saw yesterday with that cold air settling in behind the earlier cold front that worked through this week. Otherwise, we've got 35 in Buffalo right now, feeling like 22 in Boston, feeling like 33 in New York City. So you get the picture. You need the extra layers if you live in the Great Lakes, in the Northeast, down across the Southeast. A very different story if we look west, where the less layers is the way to go, because we've got this kind of high pressure sitting across this part of the country. And that means that all that sinking air keeps the heat trapped at the surface. So essentially, we've got the potential to see all-time March records for places like Palm Springs, Las Vegas, Phoenix, all of those locations. And it just generally across this region is going to be quite dangerous, with temperatures sitting anywhere from 15 to 30 degrees above where they should be for this time of year. Those are very summer-like temperatures. You heard Liz mentioning it. 38 million people under these heat alerts, the heat advisories, the heat warnings up for parts of Arizona, Nevada, and California. And this record heat is actually going to expand through the day today. So yes, parts of the Southwest, like Phoenix, 104 degrees today, 89 in Amarillo, but even Little Rock, Kansas City, Alexandria, into those upper 70s, temperatures that you do not typically see for this time of year. It gets even warmer for tomorrow. So 68 degrees in Washington, D.C., 75 for Columbia. But the dangerous heat is going to still be in place across the Southwest, across the Rockies. You see the 90s for El Paso, Amarillo, Austin, 109 degrees in Palm Springs. And then as we get into next week, it'll be pretty nice for most. We'll start to see things kind of moderating out. We go from the 90s on Saturday in Wichita to the 60s by the time the work week starts. So a little bit of a brief break there. And then the upper 60s in Philadelphia on Sunday. That'll feel nice for folks that are looking for some warmer air, but it does dip down to the 50s by Monday. So a little bit of everything for everybody at this point, but making sure that you have a way to find a cool spot across the West is going to be really key. We know that heat is a big killer, and we're concerned about that.
Very important. I feel like I forget what month it is. Because there are days like, is it February or May?
Right. I'm talking about an all-time temperature record after being in a blizzard. It doesn't make sense, but
it is March.
It is the world we
We're
live in.
told. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bryce.
This morning, we have more on the disturbing new allegations against late civil rights icon Cesar Chavez. The prominent labor movement leader died more than 3 decades ago, but now he's facing allegations he sexually abused women and girls. NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal reports.
I think that it is a fair contract.
Shocking allegations that Latino labor rights icon Cesar Chavez, whose name is on schools and monuments across the country, sexually abused women and girls. Decades after his death, Dolores Huerta, now 95, who co-founded the United Farm Workers Union with Chavez, revealed in a statement he sexually assaulted her twice. The first time I was manipulated and pressured into having sex with him. The second time I was forced against my will and in an environment where I felt trapped. Huerta says the encounters resulted in 2 children with Chavez. I chose to keep my pregnancy secret, and after the children were born, I arranged for them to be raised by other families that could give them stable lives. Her statement came after the New York Times published an investigation detailing Huerta's account, along with 2 other women who say Chavez sexually abused them beginning when they were 12 and 13 years old. NBC News has not spoken with the women. One, Ana Murguia, is seen here next to Chavez during a march in 1975. The Times said it found extensive evidence to support the 2 women's claims through interviews with more than 60 people, union records, and confidential documents. Neither the paper nor NBC News have been able to corroborate Huerta's claims, which she said she kept secret for 60 years. Chavez, together with Huerta, led a movement widely credited with transforming farm labor in the United States.
It is a pleading for social change, for social justice,
guaranteeing union protections, health, safety, and social services. His family acknowledging the allegations, calling them deeply painful, adding they wish peace and healing to the survivors and commend their courage to come forward.
And Huerta says the farm workers movement has always been bigger and more important than any one individual. This, as the union he helped found, says it won't participate in any upcoming annual remembrance events for Chavez's birthday.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.